Welcome to the BDGG Guide for Mythic Sun King Salvation, presented by Wowhead. katl'thas is at it again. This fight and the next three can be done in any order. The end goal of this fight is to heal katl'thas to full health, or technically 99%, with the main mythic change being Cloak of Flames. katl'thas and the Shade of katl'thas will cast Cloak of Flames, protecting themselves in a massive shield, and casting Unleashed Pyroclasm, which can only be interrupted by damaging or healing through the shield. If Unleashed Pyroclasm goes off, the raid instantly wipes. The Phoenixes also revive through the fight, and continue to cover the room in fire patches, so multi-dot classes are really valuable here. For raid composition on this fight, bring the standard 2 tanks, 5 healers, and 13 DPS. For DPS, classes that can off-hill bring value, DKs are good for grips, and classes with strong, quick CDs are preferable due to Shade's burst DPS check. As mentioned before, dot classes are also really valuable here, as there are a lot of adds that can't be reached by melee very easily. For positioning on this fight, you generally want to fight in an open area if you can. Certain types of mobs will gravitate you towards different parts of the room, and you will have to fight there. The only choice you have of positioning is during the shade phases. Before pulling, a raid marker should be placed for the first stack point of the first shade phase. Most of this side of the room is going to be unusable afterwards, as you will stack up and try and bait the fire puddles along the outside of the room. While fighting assassins, range should be spread out 8 yards when targeted by their Crimson Flurry, as this will reduce the number of bleed stacks the raid would otherwise have. This will go a long way in keeping the raid healthy, which means more healing to Kale. The fight starts out pretty similar to Heroic. You want to grip and kick the side adds and AoE most of the stuff down. We have our Boomkins play Heart of the Wild here, and Heart plus Convoke into the boss from the corners of the room, and a similar tech is used with Shamans and Ascendants here. Your goal of the first minute of the fight is to get Kale to 45% and phase him before the first Vanquisher spawns. The first Vanquisher spawns soon after the High Torturer dies, so the raid should get him low but not kill him. He is extremely deadly by himself and can easily be killed in the time it takes Shade to spawn or Incidental Cleave once Shade activates. In the meantime, DPS can help this push by off-healing Kale and Essence fonts. Pedestals are also available for use after most of the adds die. These should be used here and there by classes with no healing or off-healing classes that are out of mana. While they don't do much, there should be some downtime anyways around this part of the fight. Once Shade is spawned and attackable, all damage needs to go into him. If a tank ad spawns here, healers and tanks just need to deal with it, but no single target damage can be sacrificed, as we're trying to beat the third shield that will happen at about 1 minute and 40 seconds into this phase, making this DPS check a little tight. DPS and healers should stack up on the mark while tanks pull Shade into position. In general, Shade should be kept ahead of the kite path, as this will allow for better baiting of the frontal Blazing Surge. The raid should stay stacked to soak Ember Blaze as in Heroic. The main thing you'll want to optimize in this situation is CDs for Cloak of Flames. These will happen at roughly 1 minute 30 and 2 minutes into the fight, and CDs need to be saved for both. Coordinating cooldowns to be split between different shields is important, as is lining up GCDs to the beginning of shields. The shield is short, so even one more cast from each person can easily make the difference. You'll see we funnel Phoenixes behind the raid kite path, and use Ring of Peace and Typhoons to control them while they rot down from dots and natural cleave. The raid should remain stacked up for the rest of this phase, and push before the third shield. The Shade phases out of the fight at 45%. At the start of phase 2, the raid will be at the back of the room. As no adds respawned yet, non-healing classes can go get some pedestal time in, but off-heal should be thrown into the boss. The first thing that spawns here is a Vanquisher, and DPS should start on it ASAP. This Vanquisher needs to die before the next one spawns in. Phoenixes won't despawn and will be active in this phase. They should be slowed, stunned, and knocked back whenever possible to try and keep them on an existing patch of fire. The first real wave of adds here should spawn about the same time Kale's first shield happens. Off-healing classes can help with Kale's first shield, and then move on to killing targets. Range should make sure to stay spread for assassins, and there is no real kill order here, just group and kick everything in AoE. The assassin's return to Stone Channel needs to be interrupted by unconventional means. Since it's not kickable, you'll need to use things like Sigil of Misery or Intimidating Shout to stop them from full healing. Pestering Fiends, while small, should not be ignored as their damage will add up over time. They just need ranged kicks to eventually get into melee. Doing a good job controlling Phoenixes here while maximizing AoE and minimizing extra damage taken will set you up for a cleaner second phase too. The last big wave of ads will contain infusers. 2 DPS should be assigned to hard CC the near side, as these two will die second. All other ranged DPS should go to the other side and begin slowing and killing the infusers that spawn there. Since most of this will be on fire, melee can't help. This is where Lust is used, as infusers have high HP and it will overlap with a healer Cloak of Flames. If you kill the occultist ads at the right time, topping off a few essence fonts will help clear Cloak very fast. Once the far infusers die, the raid can then move on to the close side infusers. These will drop orbs that healers will have access to, which can help them get kale to 90%. The raid wants to get kale to 90% before the next wave of ad spawn, but not before the infusers are dead. Any off heals can help out here. It's worth noting that there will be ads in the last phase too, which is fine. Any non-healing classes should try and kill some of the ads if the shade is not spawned yet, but you can ignore the Vanquisher, as it has too much HP to die at this point. The second phase 2 will play out similarly to the first, except you only need to deal 9% of Kale's HP instead of 10%. You should still aim to stack up. If assassins are live, you have to take marks out, and dodge around the outside of the room. It's not as important to save space here, but it is important to have things baited in a consistent way. You should still plan for 2 shield burns. 3 can be done if that's where the DPS ends up. Just make sure CDs are assigned to each one. The fight will end at 1% after some RP. As always, I'll let the remainder of the fight play out with comms, but if you have any questions, leave a comment down below. Be sure to subscribe and like the video to be notified of the rest of our Castle Nathria guide. Boss HP continues to climb up, and we're just looking to survive each of these Pyroclasms by the shade. We do have the damage for it.
Frontal.
Here's the Pyroclasm. This one should clear.
Everyone else.
Sweet core is definitely good.
At the bank should be
More deaths, but an extra battle res here. 2 healers down.
Alright, just dodge this frontal.
But this is officially the best pull if we can get this shade Pyroclasm. Point 2, point 1.
Let's go!
Shade katl'thas is dying here.
Insane!
We did it!
God,